Hey, I am so excited to chat with you all today. We are going to cover how to measure your marketing using Google Analytics. And this is going to allow you to see exactly where traffic is coming from and which marketing activities are actually working for you or your clients. And that way you can make decisions like where to double down or where to stop focusing accordingly. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I'm just going to do a quick introduction. My name is Jen. I've spent 7 years at a Fortune 10 company. I was formerly a professional blogger twice. I sold my last blog after growing it to 2 million page views per year, and I did that entirely by leveraging data and playing the numbers game. I have 2 little girls whose cute faces that I had to include here. And I'm a certified measurement marketer, meaning I know a whole lot about analytics as it relates to sales and marketing. But before you start creating stories about how I must have majored in something nerdy or I must be super gifted with math, let me assure you, I majored in English literature. Actually, one of those cute little faces is named after one of the Bronte sisters. I had to take remedial math in college, and I still count with my fingers. So I share that with you because I am not blessed with numbers, and I firmly believe you do not have to be in order to use data to make good decisions or to help clients do it. So today I'm going to show you some of the basics of Google Analytics and marketing measurement that's going to help you better measure and understand the results of your marketing activities. The results are in. When you are not measuring the results of your marketing activities, you are guessing. And unless you have endless time and resources, it's a huge problem because it means there could be wasted time and money in your business. Let me show you a real life example just to make this a little bit more tangible for you. Now, this is an embarrassing one because it's my own. Some context, I grew my last business entirely on Pinterest. We had over 2 million page views a year, predominantly coming from Pinterest. And I share that because I know Pinterest strategy really well. But just because something works for one business doesn't mean it's going to work for another, even if the strategy being done is done the exact same way by the exact same people. So fast forward to 2019, and I have this new business of mine, and it's going well. And so I hire a really well-known Pinterest manager who gets excellent results for many of my friends, has a solid strategy that I know works, and she charges $750 a month. And that seemed pretty reasonable. I know at first that might sound like a high number to you, but based on the ROI I was expecting, $750 felt like nothing. So I agreed and I get her on board, and I'm so excited to open the traffic floodgates. But what happens when you devote your time to doing something for other people's businesses? Well, the curse of the shoemaker's children struck, and I simply skimmed over her reporting month after month without really looking at the data or even thinking about what I was looking at. And to be honest, I do know that Pinterest doesn't usually produce immediate results. It's more of a long-term play, so I was kind of okay ignoring that and giving it time. Well, after 4 months, I was sitting down with my finances and realized that I had paid her about $3,000. So I was curious about the ROI of that investment. I opened the reports that she had been sending, and inside it was all impressions and views and repins, which all looked like big and growing numbers. But my job as CEO of this business is to look at traffic that becomes leads or sales. Repins don't do that, impressions don't do that, and so I identified the metric that might, and that is clicks. And the reason I chose clicks to the website is because those people have a greater chance of becoming a lead or a sale, right? I can't just sell someone from a pin alone. I need them to click in order to make a purchase. So when I looked at the clicks to the website, not only did we find that there were only 15 clicks from Pinterest over a period of 4 months, but not one of those people had gotten on our email list or made a purchase. So when we did the math, I was paying her $200 per click from Pinterest. So literally, here's $200, someone clicks on my website and leaves right away. And while that's embarrassing, this is a perfect example of what I see behind the scenes in businesses every single day, but usually it's with much bigger dollar amounts and over a greater period of time. I can give you so many more examples just like those. I think people hear data and we want to make it complicated. We want to make it this scary thing that requires all of this extra knowledge and expensive tools and scary math equations. But ultimately, it just comes down to knowing the results of your efforts and then changing the activities that impact those results. I want to say that again because that's really important. It comes down to knowing the results of your efforts and then changing the activities that impact those results. And it's just a continuous improvement cycle from there. So now that we've given you an example of what measurement can do for your business, I want to show you what's possible with Google Analytics. But before we open up the tool, you need to know how it works. So in order to track traffic to a website, you need to be using Google Analytics and understand its role in doing this. Now, I know this may be super remedial for some of you, but in case anyone here is not aware, Google Analytics is a free web analytics tool that helps you analyze traffic to your website. It's similar to the Facebook Pixel in the sense that you add a snippet of code to your site and it grabs information about the person visiting the page. Also, like your Pixel, you can add it to things like your website, landing pages, or sales funnel. It also integrates with most third-party tools, right? Think like Shopify. Now, unlike the Facebook Pixel, it is not currently impacted by the iOS changes, which is amazing because it's a great workaround for some of the challenges that a lot of media buyers and marketers and business owners are very concerned about right now. To make things slightly more complicated, Google just rolled out a new version of Google Analytics called Google Analytics 4. The original version is called Universal Analytics, and it is still available. You do not want to replace one with the other. You actually want to have both installed. I am seeing people make this mistake every single day. They're going in and they're just switching out their old code for their new code, and that is not the right thing to do. Google Analytics 4 is wildly powerful. It's leveraging machine learning and predictive analytics, but its capabilities are not quite there yet. So you want to have both on your site so that you can actually have one that's usable, which is Universal Analytics, and one that's gathering information that will become very useful very soon, but it's just not quite there yet. So one technical thing that I want to address here, because I've been getting this question a lot lately and I don't want you to get stuck here, is that if you're going to create a new Google Analytics account, when you're going to sign up, it seems like creating Google Analytics 4 is the only option. But if you look closely at the bottom of the new property page, there is a button that says Show Advanced. And when you click on that, there's the option to create a Universal Analytics property along with your Google Analytics 4 property. So if you're creating one from scratch, make sure you're setting up both at this stage. If you already have Universal Analytics, go ahead and sign up for, or go ahead and add a Google Analytics 4 property into your account. You can do that in the admin section. Again, that way you have one of each. All right, it's time to jump into Google Analytics now, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about how to navigate within the tool and also show you some of the reports that can have the biggest impact on your marketing. Okay, so welcome to Google Analytics. Just to be clear, I am in what is called the Google Merchandise Store demo account. So this is all kind of dummy data. It's through Google. This is an account that nerds like me can practice in. And the reason that I'm using it is because I can't show you confidential client information. So what you're seeing here is the home screen. When you arrive at Google Analytics, I don't generally recommend people really spend much time on this page. But where I do think it's useful is looking at the questions that they have here. As you know, I believe that data is simply answers to questions. And so what I love about the way they have this page laid out is it kind of gives you an idea of the kinds of questions you can be asking. So if you as you were listening to my training thought, well, that's nice, Jen, but I have no idea what my questions are, start here. They'll give you a really good basis for where to jump off, and naturally your brain will start to ask more questions. Otherwise, I would pretty much ignore this page. So I want to talk about how Google Analytics is laid out first and foremost. So I know it can be very overwhelming when you come in here because sometimes all of these menus are opened up and it just feels like there's so much here. But I want you to just stop and first really look at these section names because this is going to help you understand where to go in Google Analytics. So the first section is real time. This means people that are on your website in real time. Now, until you get into more advanced analytics and you want to use this for testing, it's really not all that useful. So I would just frankly ignore this. The next section is audience. So that is the section you're going to go to learn more about the people coming to your site. And when you click on this, you'll see things like demographics, interests, behavior, the devices that they're using. Again, all information about your people. The next one is acquisition. So this is how are you getting those people? And we'll cover all of these in more detail momentarily. Next is behavior. So this is, okay, we know who your people are. We know how you got them. What are they doing when they're on your site? And then taking that one step further, there's conversions. So what activity are you hoping that they're going to take? And do they actually convert? So whenever you're getting into Google Analytics, if you ever feel yourself getting overwhelmed, zoom out and come back to these main 5 sections and say, what category does my question fall under? Am I trying to figure out more information about my audience? Am I trying to figure out where I got them from? Am I trying to figure out what they're doing on my site? Or am I trying to figure out if they've converted? And that's going to help point you in the right direction of where the answer might be. So let's come into the audience section here. Now, there is a whole bunch of stuff back here. Whenever you're not sure, you can always use the overviews. This is going to give you just kind of a brain dump of information here. To be honest, the main report that I use in audience is under demographics overview. And the reason I do this is because this helps me with my marketing to make sure that the avatar that I am targeting is the avatar I am getting. So looking at this data, for example, 56% of this audience is male. Well, if I'm targeting female entrepreneurs, right, there's some misalignment in my marketing and in the audience that I am acquiring. So this can help me make some decisions about changes that I might need to make to my marketing. So to be honest, there's use cases for all these other ones, but as a best practice in getting started, I would really start with demographics because this is going to help you understand if you're attracting the people you're trying to attract. And if you have a business that is location specific, I would also look under, or language specific. You can use these 2 reports to see that information, like where are your people coming from? Because if I am, a European service provider and I only want to work with people who are also in Europe, this doesn't make sense, right? This isn't all that useful. So what are you going to do about changing your marketing to make sure that you're getting more people that are actually in Europe? So that is the audience section. That's the 1 or 2 reports that I would say for you to get started with there from a marketing perspective. The next section is acquisition. Now, this is the home of my all-time favorite Google Analytics report, and there's only 2 reports I would suggest you even looking at in acquisition. The first is under all traffic, source medium. Now, this is my favorite and most used report in Google Analytics. I ignore the chart at the top and just scroll down. This is where you're going to see the source, which is like the brand of traffic, and the medium, which is the type of traffic of all of your users, meaning where are they coming from? So direct none means they either just showed up or Google doesn't know where they came from. There can be other things that cause that as well, but we're not going to get into that today. Normally here, if this wasn't sample data, you would see like Facebook, you would see Instagram, you would see LinkedIn, you might see Google Organic, right? Google CPC. CPC is how Google refers to paid traffic. So this is where you're seeing where they came from. And then the other thing I love about this report is it shows you, okay, how many people were there? How many of those people were new? How many sessions did they have, right? Like, did they open it a couple times? Did they just start a session once? Next is behavior. So you can see, did they hit your site and leave right away? How many pages per session did they see? And what was the average session duration? So how long were they staying on your site? If someone's on your sales page for 15 minutes, there's a good chance they probably read the whole thing. If they're on your sales page for 15 seconds, you're probably not catching their attention early enough. What can you do to change that? And then lastly is my favorite part, which is conversions. So now you can actually see in this example how much money you're making by source. And so in this example, you can see, this would be something that as a measurement person, I would be digging into, right? Like 97% of their revenue, they don't know where it's coming from. That's a problem. And the other thing that's interesting is people often assume that your highest traffic source is going to be your highest revenue source. But as you can see here, that's not the case, right? Source 5 and 7 have brought in more money than sources 2 and 4. Now, if you don't have e-commerce set up, you can also switch over to goals and do it this way as well. The other cool thing here, if you wanted to drill down further, you can add in other dimensions. So for example, and I won't go too techie here, but let's say I wanted to know the landing page, right? So I want to know how many people from each source, where are they landing? So now I can see all these direct nones and where they're landing on my website. So the only other section in acquisition that I might suggest you look at is actually under Search Console. This does require that you also have Google Search Console set up. But basically here you can go to queries and see what people are actually typing into search engines to find your website. So here you can see dinosaur game was typed into Google. There were 1,000 clicks and 267,000 impressions. So this means this is the number of times it actually showed up in the search results, and this is the number of time it clicks that they clicked. And you can also see the average position, which is really useful. The click-through rate as well. So I do like this. It's not required, but if you have Google Search Console, I think it's really useful information, especially if you're trying to work on SEO. Next, we have behavior. So when you click into behavior, you want to go to site content and then all pages. This is the only one I really look at here, and this is what tells you how many people are viewing each page on your website. Again, really helpful, kind of like we covered on the source medium page, to understand more specific behavior on your sales page, also on your blog posts, right? Which blog posts are driving traffic to your website? Lastly is conversions, and this one's a little harder to show you because you do need to have either e-commerce or goals set up in order for these to be useful. But typically under goals, I'm looking at goal overview to see how many goals were completed, where they were completed, if there were values, how much money that was. You can also click here and see all the different goals that you have. So if I just wanted to see people who purchased, who completed a purchase, I can click on that and it'll segment accordingly. And then if you have e-commerce, using overview for that, because this is where you're going to see the exact products that sold, how much money they brought in, the conversion rate, number of transactions, etc. So I hope you found this helpful in better understanding how to navigate Google Analytics and where to find actionable information that can help inform your marketing. This quote from Warren Buffett is one of the best quotes to sum up why data is so important. If you can't read the scoreboard, you don't know the score. And if you don't know the score, you can't tell the winners from the losers. In business, and especially in this online business world of ours, it's easy for us to fall into a constant state of hustle when it comes to our marketing. Because we're trying to do all the things and be all the places to reach our goals. But look around. Most people are actually just stuck in this cycle and they're not getting anywhere. And that's because they don't even have a scoreboard, let alone know how to read one. You have a scoreboard available to you via Google Analytics. And these tools can help you leverage the power of data to make better marketing decisions. And remember, it all comes down to measure your results and change your activities. One question that I get asked a ton is, where should I start? They say, Jen, I don't know what I should be measuring, and that's why I'm not measuring anything, because it all just feels so overwhelming. And so I want to gift you something that's going to make that a lot easier for you. So we have what we call our metrics generator, and it's a spreadsheet that operates kind of like a quiz. You're just going to answer, I think it's like 10 yes or no questions. They're very basic questions. And based on your answers, it's going to generate a custom list of metrics that you should start with measuring in your business. And then not only that, but the workbook also has another tab in it where you can figure out, okay, what does that metric actually mean? And how do I get that information? Where do I find it? You can grab that tool at thenimbleco.com/visionary. Again, that is thenimbleco.com/visionary.